But how's your day been? How's life going in general?
I mean, it's good. I want to know a little bit more, like even before we start, how this came about and kind of what your mission is. I checked out some of the links that they sent, and it just looks really cool. But I want to know your why. I want your whole life story. But
No, I appreciate the curiosity. So, I'm you know, I don't know if you're a very spiritual person, but I'm just curious about human beings, and I'm really curious about what inspires us as individuals, and specifically what inspires people that aim to inspire others, right? Like we have like this with this desire to put our ideas out into the world, and all of the ideas like unique and really cool, and I just want a little taste of it. I just want to be like, give me that. Let me put that into my soul so I can like put that back out into the world. So that's what Turabify is kind of all about. It's really a service-based mission. It is my name, but Turab in Arabic means soil, and apparently I found out on one of these podcasts that the Latin roots of humble is humus, which is also soil. So it's so that's just stuff about me. I'm a dentist in Ohio. I work in my mom's practice, and I have this nonprofit, and we're doing all this stuff. So I'm just trying to engage with awesome leaders like yourself. And thank you so much for taking the time to come by. It's
yeah, I mean, that's huge. I feel like to be able to know that about yourself, and especially, I feel like there's not many of us in dental that do know that about ourselves, right? So it's few and far between. So I hear you. I got you.
no, yeah, it's again, it's an honor. Me and you have both been through the schooling system. We've definitely probably seen what the average is. So to stick outside of that is it's very bold, and
That's where you would naturally fit, I'm assuming anyway, right? We don't belong in the bell curve, never.
to do it right at the end of it. You gotta go where the heart takes you. It's what makes things fun. But yeah, it's gonna be a real casual conversation. We can really take it anywhere. There's obviously stuff that you're working on. If you want to bring it up, you can let me know now, or I'll just like segue into it kind of casually. Um, but yeah, I mean, the main thing is, how do we inspire the next generation of leaders? How do we give them tangible advice and kind of data and stuff that they can work with, so that I don't know, younger version of Melissa, younger version of Turab has another tool to expedite some of the hurdles. So that's the plan.
Mhm. Well, we can chat. I don't have any agendas. I don't need to push anything. We can just chat. I'm good with that. Yeah. How long do you want this to be?
Uh, can we do like 45 minutes, an hour? Is that possible?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know when the last time I don't know when the last time is I did a 45-minute or an hour podcast. It's been years.
How long are your podcasts usually?
Uh, these days it's now down to did you say 2 hours? No, these days it's now down to like 20 minutes. People want 20 minutes, like a drive home type of thing. I mean, I'm good with whatever. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, wow, I haven't done a long one in a very long time.
I mean, again, whatever you wish.
Oh, no, no. No, this is not me saying go shorter. This is me saying, wow.
I want to get to know you. Like the way that I see podcasts in general and doing this stuff is, I mean, we're really networking, right? At the end of the day, we're just meeting people that are interesting. We never know what we're going to be working on and how our paths can coincide. So why not? Why not have an interesting conversation, feed our souls, and hopefully give some stuff to other people.
Good at the same time. Yeah, that's good. Perfect.
If that's okay, is there anything that uh it's Melissa K. Turner, correct?
Yes. Oh, that's good. But if you go without the K, you'll have to Google Melissa. I need a little PR PR strategy here. Because if you Google Melissa Turner, she is a cosplay actress who murdered her boyfriend, and there's been a trial going on for like years and years and years. And I'm like, dear God, do not miss the K.
It's unfortunate. I'm sorry.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
Um Yeah, I got you 100%. All right, so here's the intro. Hey guys, this is Dr. Turab Rai from the Turabify Network podcast. I have Melissa K. Turner with me. Melissa K. Turner just doesn't follow industry trends, she creates them, period. A global recognized thought leader, brand strategy consultant, and keynote motivational speaker, Melissa is the driving force behind innovation in dentistry. She thrives at the intersection of innovation and tradition, blending cutting edge technology with timeless principles to create a new model of leadership. Thank you so much, Melissa, for joining us here.
Turab, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
We were talking a little bit about kids. We were talking a little bit about our missions right before this. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for all the information that you're putting out there for folks. What is one of your pet peeves? One of the things that you come across most often in the people that you're trying to teach and inspire that that you wish you could change?
Oh my gosh, we're diving deep. Okay, diving deep right off the top. I think I know what I want to say, but I want to preface it a little bit and then maybe even footnote it a little bit. One of the biggest pet peeves. So I'm on stage and I present clinical education, KOL education. I'm a dental influencer. I also spend most of my time behind the scenes as a brand strategy consultant with the product and tech companies, and even some DSOs, and then also with individuals who want to take their career to the next level with whatever that means for them. So we work on personal brand strategy there. A lot of it is social media. A lot of it is AEO, GEO, SEO now, different things like that. So I work in a space that is constantly motivated by change. And so if I could name a pet peeve with across all of the people I interact with on a daily basis, my pet peeve, I believe I'm going to say, is that people are resistant to change. But not the resistance part. I think it's more of maybe the mindset to change. And here's the footnote that I'm going to get at. Nobody likes change, right? A couple years ago, I found myself saying on a stage, and I had never said this before, I said, I love change. I love that like everything's changing right now in dentistry. But really, after I thought about that, it's not that I love it. I say that to help me cope with it, right? But what I know is through times of change, if we want to change a community, if we want to change an industry, if we want to change ourselves inside, when things are chaotic and when the whole world is changing, like through COVID, like through all this AI stuff, then we need to harness that chaotic change and take that to change ourselves, take that time to change ourselves and to make the change we want. So for me, it's not, my pet peeve isn't that people are resistant to change. It's that they don't see the benefit in it, right? Like you can grow, you can change the world through times of change because nothing is static, right? Just use it as an excuse. I'm gonna go change the world because COVID hit and now everything's chaos, right?
We're very risk averse as humans, you know? It's like we got really comfortable and now we have like this middle class that's kind of chill in America. You can kind of get away with like not doing too much and then the risk is like, okay, I got a couple $1,000 maybe that I saved over the last couple of years and I have this thing that's going to change my life potentially. But what's that? Do you not have faith in yourself, right? To push that thing forward. So what I wanted to ask as a follow-up is, what do you use as what inspires you kind of like on a monthly basis, on a daily basis? Because you're a hygienist by trade, so you know the details, you pay attention to details very, very well. Where does inspiration come for you?
For me, having a life story of which everyone has. We have pain in our life story, we have trauma in our lives, and understanding that that's not just relegated to me, that everyone has pain, everyone has trauma, everyone has their journey, their story for better or for worse. So when we're talking about inspiration, it's looking around and seeing, hey, YOLO, we only live once, right? Only live once. The older I get, the more I realize we only live once. And once I had kids, I realized, oh my gosh, they grow so fast. We only live once. And so my inspiration is looking around. Number one, seeing the pain and seeing the trauma and having that empathy and compassion on people around me and really understanding that if I can help them, if I can lay the framework, or if I can improve their lives directly or indirectly, that for me is the inspiration to keep going. And it's always been, I come from a very traditional religious community that always stood its ground, was always separate from the rest of society. And through that, it's taught me that I don't need to follow mainstream ever, right? And so when I look around and I'm inspired by people who have been through very traumatic experience and hard lives, but yet they are change makers and they are going out and going balls to the wall and changing their communities. I mean, that's inspiration. And knowing that we all have our own stories that are similar to that, right?
And I mean, I assume almost every single person I talk to on these podcasts is like, dude, I'm not stopping anytime soon. Like, it's like this is my life, you know. I assume it's similar to you. When you were coming up though, when you were finding your footing, were there specific role models that you came across that were like, oh yeah, that's cool, I want to be that?
Yeah, there were. I'm thinking right now because there wasn't any one person that I was like, oh, that is what I want to be. And I'm not sure if I would ever find one person and be like, that is my role model, that is my sole inspiration, because I want to diversify, whether out of fear or out of just that's who I am. I want to diversify, right? And so I have right now, a lot of my current inspiration are characters in novels, and when I'm binge watching Scandal and House of Cards and like all these shows, they just happen to be political shows right now, but when I'm binge watching these shows, like the character development behind these fictional beings is very inspiring. And then I do have inspiration in person too, right? I don't just live in this fictional world, but the inspiration comes from my kids who are just go-getters and who aren't afraid, or from somebody on the street that I meet and just bond with instantly, right? Like it takes two to bond, right? So what did they do to, that inspiration? Yeah.
Basically, you're this very curious person, and mind you, I like totally resonate with the whole concept of when I watch things or when I engage in my hobbies and stuff, like just seeing that around. It really depends on what I'm thinking about at the time, but it can morph what I'm viewing. It can. Are you a believer in the universe kind of giving you the inspiration that you need at the time, or that there's this like kind of natural progression, or are you? I know you said you were part of a religious community. I don't.
I'm half and half. I'm things will. I think my biggest lesson, I turned 40 this year, but don't tell anyone, right? Yeah. My biggest, thank you. My biggest lesson turning 40 is that I have a choice. And so while the past 39 years, I believed very much that the universe, right? Whatever you want to call it, that higher power made things happen. Now I want to be as intentional as I can and make every choice to the fullest extent that I can. So it's kind of like the pendulum, I think, is kind of swinging a little bit. It's starting to swing a little bit. Yeah.
Tell me about how dental hygiene turns into this leadership community branding stuff. Like we were just talking about this before the podcast too. I was like, we're weird, right? Like we went into these professions that people have defined for years and years, and there's a very standard way. Like people are like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get a job, and then that's kind of the end of their plan. You know, it's kind of sad, to be honest. But what how did you start branching out?
I think I'm going to answer your question with a question. My question to myself would be, how did I get into dentistry in the first place? Right? And totally random. Totally, I wasn't even going to go to college. And then I'm like, I need a job. So I looked in the newspaper for a job and began as a dental assistant. Right? As soon as I began as a dental assistant, the hygienist was like, Melissa, you need to go to hygiene school. So it's
Did you study as a dental assistant to become a dental assistant, or did you just get into it?
on the job. That was trained on the job at that point. Yeah. And then I remember when the hygienist was, she saw something in me and she's like, Melissa, you should be a hygienist. She's like, it's only 2 years of school. Well, come to find out, it's like not just 2 years, right? It's whatever. That's in the past. But what I knew is when I was 18 and getting a job, my first job in dental, I didn't know what the heck I was doing, right? Had no idea. I knew I needed my wisdom teeth out. So that's why I got a job in dental. I'm like, maybe they can they can do it for me. And but I fell in love with the industry. What I didn't fall in love with, and this is what you just said, is after graduating, as clinicians, we hit our glass ceiling right away. And especially dentists who are an associate, and team members and hygienists who do not own practices, right? If I come out of dental school and own a practice, it's a completely different story. But as a team member, 20 years ago, when I first started in dental, I come out, love my patients, love what I do, love dentistry, super obsessed with teeth, right? But I hit my glass ceiling right away as a clinician. And at that point, I could either, if I wasn't a clinical hygienist, then I could be an educator. Those jobs are few and far between, right? Or the bold among us went into sales, right? Some kind of corporate sales job. And that was really all that we had. And I remember, yeah, well, there would be hygiene product companies that would want hygienists to sell, like Waterpik. Waterpik was a prime example back then, right? They would bring in different hygienists to sell the hygiene products. Yeah. 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 Well, and that still goes on today. But I remember sitting in the clinical chair day after day after day and just being bored out of my mind, right? I'm like, I knew I wasn't being utilized to the top of my ability. I would just go into the dental practice every day and just wait for somebody to like give me more responsibility. Hey, Melissa, could you be lead hygienist? Hey, Melissa, could you do? And nobody did because they didn't expect it of me, right? And I'll let you talk about that. But what ended up happening, and this was very frustrating for the first 10 years of my career. So for the first 10 years, I was clinical full time. And my husband's educational journey brought us to many different locations, many different cities, many different states. So every year or two, we moved to Europe, all around the states. So I have a lot of experience working as
20s. Cool.
a lot of experience in my 20s working in over 100 dental practices across the states, temping, full time, part time, everything. And what that allowed me to realize is dentistry as a big picture, as a whole. It allowed me to understand the strengths and the weaknesses, the pros and the cons, the pain points, the things that we are doing correct and right, and the change we're making, the change we're not making. And it was kind of through, every day as I'd be sitting there scaling, I just kept thinking, there's got to be more I could do. There's got to be more I could do. Well, come to find out that I love the stage. I love presenting. I love leading. I love educating. And then through all that, lots of startups and lots of companies began to reach out to me, asking me to help them with, hey, like we have a good product. Can you help hygienists understand the value proposition that we have for them? And so through that, I began to, how do I get onto the stages?
When you were doing the hygiene for the 10 years and you were moving around all the time, and like there was no set in stone,
I didn't do stage time at that. Nope, I couldn't. Yeah, you had to focus.
they find you.
No, I found them. This is where, as when I mentor the younger generations, this is one of the biggest aspects I help them work through is you have to take initiative. Nobody's going to care for yourself except for yourself, right? So, and this is what I learned sitting in that clinical chair, wanting a dentist to come to say me and say, "Hey, Melissa, here's this big responsibility. Do you want it?" And I would have said yes, right? And I'm like, "Okay, I will just have to take the steps to initiate everything." And so for a long time, I'm not sure if I've ever said this publicly, but for a long time when I was transitioning out of the clinical world, I did not feel accepted into the speaker world in dentistry. I was young, I was a woman, I like to laugh, I'm blonde, like all these things. I was a hygienist, all these things kind of worked against me, which is reality to a lot of women and a lot of people who don't fit the general stereotype. And so I decided, this is answering your question, I decided to make my own stages. And that is how I entered the speaking world. So I launched my own events. I joined leadership teams of other events. And that's how I initially got on the stages.
So were these situations actually generating revenue for you too? Like you're obviously like you're exploring this new field, right? You've left something that you did for 10 years. You've obviously maybe you have some sort of savings or something. You're obviously working alongside with your husband. Did you have kids at the time when you transitioned over?
Yeah, when I transitioned over, I had both babies at home. Yep.
So super busy all the time, like barely getting any sleep, and trying to figure out how, like, what was the thing that you used as your compass as, hey, I'm going to take this opportunity or I'm not going to take this opportunity?
Well, for a while, it was say yes to everything. It's to do your due diligence, to do the research, to understand the lay of the land. For a while, I said yes to anything, even if I didn't think I would get paid or even if I didn't think I had a purpose for it. But what it did, just like working in hundreds of dental practices across the states, it allowed me to understand the rest of what the dental industry is outside of clinical practice. And so even if there was no monetary gain per se directly, it still was an investment that I could make into the future. And that was part of my plan early on. So I've been working in brand strategy and non-clinical for probably 15 years now, as I transitioned out. And one of the biggest assets I can have, both in investing in myself and investing in my clients who I have now, is to understand every corner of the industry. And so for a while I had mapped out, okay, well, I'm going to own the speaker circuit. Now I'm going to own the influencer circuit. Now I'm going to figure out how to get into product development. I'm going to go into clinical research. I'm going to get published as much as I can. I've been published over 300 times now in different journals and magazines and things like that. And so it's crazy. Like looking back, I head down and go. And that was publishing before ChatGPT. That was writing every single word out, right? And then rewriting it and rewriting it. So just understanding the industry as a whole, DSOs. I had no reason to go to DSO conferences in the beginning, but I went there to understand how it was shaping the larger picture of dentistry, right? So understanding, for me, it's very important to understand all the aspects of the industry so that when I work with clients and when I think about making change, I can make the biggest change possible. Yeah.
So it was yes for a long time. Say yes so much that you know when to say no, right? That's
Makes sense. I like that. Did you just put that in the chat?
you gotta mess up. And you had the reps, and I think that's, especially with the ChatGPT generation, the AI coming on, I think this gonna be one of the biggest hurdles to come across for the younger generation. It's gonna be like, dude, what is the rationale behind getting the reps, right? Like the next rep isn't the answer. The rep after that isn't the answer. But 50, maybe 100 reps in, now you get an answer, right? And that patience, when you have infinite intelligence at the tip of your fingertips, or and you can just think of something and be like, okay, there you go, right? I mean, this whole thing, the instant gratification starts becoming even more of potentially a setback, but I don't know. I don't know. I think enabling ourselves with technology is also super super important. So, tell me about like you're clearly a change maker. You're clearly an embracer of change. When new technologies and stuff came by, like how have you gone about confronting perhaps some of your long held beliefs, but also perhaps integrating that stuff into what you are interested in doing?
Well, and exactly this is a good question because I'm one of the last of the millennial generation that understands life without the internet, that remembers it, you know? And so I'm always comparing what I do now to then, even though I was, young, right? So I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, we don't need the internet. We don't need social media. We don't need chat GPT. We can be fine without it, right? So like that's my foundation. That's my baseline. Uh, s- but what that translates to is I will maximize technology and AI, but understand that it has its cautions and limitations and its hallucinations, right? So, I mean, these days I find myself on Chat GPT rabbit holes for hours, hours. And it's information at my fingertips. It's brainstorming. It's helping me work faster and process faster in business development and everything faster than ever. But I like routinely I turn off the screen and I take a step back, just completely overwhelmed in a happy way. But know that like there is such a thing as too much too fast. And that's one of the things when I work with startups. I say you want a slow build. You do not want to go on Shark Tank and like get sold out and then not have the processes and systems in place to actually grow your business and get the best, EBITDA you can from it and all this stuff. So like, and this is what I teach my kids too. I say, technology is great. My generation and the generations above me think that technology is everything. But I think the advantage to the younger generations is they're going to come in it and tech will be normalized for them. And so they'll be able to turn it off. They'll be able to say, "Hey, this isn't good for me right now. I'm going to turn it off." That's my hope. That's my
It's your hope. Yeah, I mean, you could. I won't even play devil's advocate here because I'm sure you've considered it, and I'm sure the audience is intelligent enough to have considered all of the implications of this incredible intelligence. I think to your point of being able to turn that screen off, uh, I think a lot about leadership from an emotional intelligence perspective and from a spiritual perspective, and I have some very good friends that are great artists. Right, I create music, I paint, and the amount of peace that they seek in life, despite having very busy schedules, um, it's inspiring. It really is because you really do when you get into like this mode of like this is who I am. I know it. I'm gonna keep on doing this thing, right? It's this momentum. It's this flywheel that just keeps on, and then you get people around you, and then you can get teams to start doing stuff for you, and then your network starts doing things for itself, and then you're like, okay, I even on cruise control, I'm going pretty damn fast, right? Um, what? How do you balance the stuff with family and just and like taking a step back and being there for your kids for like hard times or like spending date night with your husband and stuff like that, like what is your ideal when it comes to that?
I've reached my ideal yet. I think the best way for me to understand how to create balance is to take a step back and look at the 100 years that I have on this earth and say, okay, for the first 20, I was discovering myself. For the next 20, it's devoted to family, and just to kind of break it down into different segments like that. For a long time, up until, I don't know, probably 8 years ago, I was working evenings and weekends, right? I was working all day long. I was entrepreneur. I own multiple business. I was constantly on. And then I realized I came to a point where I could take a step back and I could set boundaries. And so now I have strict boundaries, right? I work 30 hours a week unless I'm traveling, and then it's 1,000 hours a week. But it's important for my kids and my family to know that, okay, mommy's done at 4 o'clock if she says she's gonna be done at 4 o'clock and she's not gonna work the weekends. And, it's the newest addition to all of this was taking time to spend to myself. And so that's something just in the last couple of years I've really prioritized. I am also a musician, and I hadn't played piano in years because I was just doing other things, and I finally got back to doing it, and I finally got back to reading paper books and to just writing and all these things that helped me become a better entrepreneur, right? And a better leader and a better empathetic state of mind, first of all. But there is no answer to the balance. All I can say is it's fluid. It's fluid. And it depends on the needs around you, what you're willing to give of yourself, and priorities. It really does. And that changes. It's never going to be static your whole life.
So, I guess quick asterisk question: are you glad that you had kids in your 20s?
I actually didn't have kids till I was 30.
Glad that you had kids when you were 30?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is something weird that I think a lot of leader entrepreneurs kind of come across, right? It's like, well, I don't want to be lonely later, but I also don't want to jump into stuff that I don't believe in, right? And now we have so some of the people that work for me, like my people basically have like these AI boyfriends or girlfriends now, right? It's crazy, like, but it
I have so much to say about that. I mean, if I owned if I owned that company, that is the best thing to make the company successful. It is not the best thing for the users.
But it's like it's so functional, right? Like in a world where, dude, you're just getting advertised to shit, like it's hard to rationalize doing the risk of like having a family sometimes, from the leadership perspective, right? But what do you think is the age for having kids? Is that allowed to continue to grow further and further into the older years? Do you believe that's the trend, or do you think that the leadership entrepreneurial people, there's like a sweet spot for us to kind of start building that stuff?
Yeah, that's a hard question. There's a couple things I know, and then maybe that will help me answer your question. What I know is having children is a huge setback to a woman's career. What I know is in the US, most business models are not friendly to women being pregnant or getting pregnant or having babies or having kids. And they're not friendly business models to parents in general, right? Um, what I also know is that as more women take seats on boards and in the executive room, this will change. This will morph. And I'm looking forward to that. Um, I waited to have kids until I was 30, but I also didn't want to wait any longer because I knew, and to this day, I still haven't unleashed 100% in my career because my priority is my kids and my family. And I keep saying once they're 18, I can actually unleash. I can go to town, right? Because that priority will then have not shifted, but I will have to do less and less for them, which is the plan. I mean, ideally. Yeah.
I mean, teaching this thing and you're already a very self-sufficient, highly motivated person. It's likely.
It's one of the, that saying, if you want something done, ask a busy person. Like that's exactly who I am, and I have a feeling who you are, and probably who most entrepreneurs are. I also think that most entrepreneurs have ADHD, whether undiagnosed or diagnosed or some form of that spectrum, right? We just go, go, go. When I come, my background, a lot of the friends around me, got married at 19, then didn't go to college and had their baby 30. I thought I was an old fart. I'm like, okay, I'll wait till I'm really old to have kids. But right now, I think we're seeing so much shift, and especially now that a lot of people can work from home. Not even AI, a lot of people can work from home, first of all. Legitimately, yeah, they can work anywhere around the world and still have a job, right? I think that in itself is going to revolutionize industries for women, and specifically for women in dentistry. Things like teledentistry, telehealth, virtual care, things, all this AI automation. It's going to help the woman practice owner or the woman dentist or the woman team member have more flexibility, so that they can have babies younger if they want.
It's still still freaking hard. Yeah, to your point earlier, I'm in this unique circumstance where my mom's a dentist, and she's owned this practice for many years, and I'm kind of coming into this practice as in a leadership role. And I know very well that when people with great potential are put into situations where they are not given the responsibility that they deserve, or perhaps that they can handle, that many of them will stay at that level. And I believe in the potential of human beings, and that's why it's so important for me to build structures inside of the companies that I build and help develop that will allow those people that have that potential to actually take on those roles and to actually experiment and be like, here, take on this project, here, see how this goes, let me invest in you, go into this thing, let's see what you can make out of it. And every time I do that, I see these girls, their eyes like light up. I see for a week, exactly what you were saying. For a week, they'll start to get a little glazed, like they'll do the same work, but it won't be with the same energy. The jokes won't be the same. And then I have an idea. I'm like, okay, cool. This person's gonna be really good at this. Let's talk about it while she's assisting me, or while she's doing something, right? And they're like, oh, cool. And then they get excited about it. And so, what is it? How much time should we as leaders dedicate to creating these opportunities for those that follow, or those that we are responsible for, right? Like, how do you balance that with obviously just trying to better yourself?
I think it's one and the same. I think as we better ourselves as leaders, as business owners, then that will trickle down. It's not like the old days where I'm a power hungry CEO and I'm mean and whatever, but here's this wellness program for the team members, right? No. Now it's all one and the same. It's the millennial leaders who have high empathy scores and who know how to function in relationships. That's just going to come out naturally in the systems and the processes that we build to create a functioning system for the business. I think it's just one.
It has to be injected, you're saying, into the philosophy of the entire business.
Yeah, and I think that's why we've seen so many B Corps and so many companies now who have nonprofit sides to them, or buy 2 shoes and we're gonna send 2 pairs of shoes, we're gonna send one to Africa, right? It's that type of mentality that now, at least me as a millennial, I expect companies to give back like that, and I also expect that ideology, that ethos, to be woven within the company culture as well. Something that we do not see in dentistry at all. At all.
I mean, we're not okay. As a dentist, the professionalism class at school was absolute bullshit. Like, absolute bullshit.
Is that what they called it? Professionalism?
The practice management. They brought in one guy that was like, he taught some really valuable lessons, but like, leadership is a teachable skill. Like, there's certain core components that you can absolutely teach an intelligent person. You can teach it to a middle schooler if you wanted. It's just not prioritized. Service is also not prioritized in our education system whatsoever, right? You're going into a service-based profession. The vast majority of your essays are written based on your service, whatever. Yet there's no requirements for public service, community service for the school, right? So
even that too, right? Like, why does community service have to be separate? A separate division in the school? Like, there are some schools that have a mobile dentistry van, right? Okay, sure. But why do they classify that as public health? And then, what we're doing over here is just regular dentistry, right? It's elite health right here. Like, why is it separate? Why can it not be? And that's part of, if I have a legacy, it's my hope to see more mobile clinicians just going out into the field, more virtual care going out into the field, not even just for poor people, right? Not even just for indigent, but for everyone, because we all need it. That access to our services is just such a huge hurdle right now, and it all has always been. Um, but it's so easy, like, our businesses will grow. But what I don't want to see happen is, okay, we're gonna add a public health arm to my private dental practice. No, no, no. This is all one and the same. It's a one ethos, it's one mentality, right?
Right. And that's also the hard thing too. It's like it's hard to predict how giving impacts top line numbers, right? But a fundamental part of wealth, from what I've studied at least, is philanthropy. Like, it's like a massive part of it. It's a pillar of it. If you don't have that in the matrix, you're just not going to make it. Um, and that again goes back to kind of this spiritual, kind of human, emotional connection type of thing. That, I mean, I'm about to be a board member in a crypto company, right? Some of the people there, that's all they're talking about is emotional intelligence. They're not even talking about numbers. They're like, dude, I just feel like this person is gonna be something.
Yeah. And I think that is one of the as we become a more data-centric nation, society, it's the flaw in that is that the things that aren't quantifiable, like you said, are the things that I believe are going to be the most beneficial and most crucial for successful businesses moving forward. But if I'm a middle management, you know, team member and I have to provide objective ROI as to why we're exhibiting at this dental event, right? You must have 1,000 email addresses when you come back from the event. Well, no, nobody gives out email addresses. Emails don't even work anymore, right? But like having that objective ROI, we're relying too much on that because we have so much data that we can pull from it. And we're neglecting the non-quantifiable value, and it's relationships, it's networking. I tell my companies that I work with, if you're going to exhibit at a dental event, you're not going to make sales. You don't expect to collect email addresses. Go there to make the relationships. It's kind of old school. We're going old school now. Like, go there to make the relationships, and that is how you will get the best ROI from it, but not on paper, right? It won't look good on paper. They'll look good, in the non-monetary. It'll feel good, but how do you convey that to your CEO who needs to know numbers, right? How do you convey that?
Your people are happier. See, like, there's a lot that I think we're hitting on a very important point here in terms of how entrepreneurship and how business is going to change as well, with the horizontal integration of AI, for instance. Like, all of this data is just, dude, you could do whatever the hell you want with it, and it's available to you. And the ways to collect data are so much more feasible. Automations are so much more feasible, right? And that feeling thing, I think it's going to hit on trust. So why is it so hard to trust people?
We've lost the art of trust because it comes back to, in order to trust somebody, we have to allow ourselves to be vulnerable enough to trust them. And whatever's happened in the last, I don't know, 100 years, whatever's happened since the industrial, I don't know, whatever's happened, the path that we have been on, I'll talk for American society. For Americans, for business people in America, the path that we have been on has been to become more inward focused. And as we do that, we I think we decide not to be brave and be vulnerable. And so then we just lose trust in everybody around us. So I think to gain it back, we have to decide to be vulnerable. And that takes being brave, right? That's what I tell my kids. Like, you make the choice. to stand up for yourself and you go talk to the teacher or to the kid who's, not being nice to you. You have to make that choice, to be brave. And then trust comes through. Brave and vulnerable. And then trust comes through that. These are lessons learned the hard way.
Only through lessons learned the hard way. So, all right. Well, I could touch on the teledentistry stuff, but I'm enjoying this too much. Okay, fine. Let's go into the teledentistry. Okay, so one of the most satisfying parts of my job is explaining to people that your oral health is broken into two parts. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. Okay, it's your nutrition and it's your technique. If you can master those two things, you don't have to go to a dentist for the rest of your life. And frankly speaking, I literally tell my patients this, and I say to them that the healthcare system is busted. Like, it's been busted for a long time, and they actually want you sick. They want you sick so bad that they teach every single doctor that comes out of school that people are sick. Like, you were brought up ADHD. I don't know if you're familiar with Grant Cardone at all. He's a fun guy. He was saying, dude, ADHD, ADD is all bullshit. Like, he was saying there's no tests for it. There's no clinical trials or whatever, for these drugs. There's no legitimate data. We were speaking of data. There's no legitimate data for this thing that so many people are diagnosed with.
Like a personality type. That's what it is.
It's messed up. And these doctors, like, I know physicians. You know physicians. These doctors, they're like, you know how liberalism and conservative is like flipping right now in like some weird ways, right? It feels like they've been brainwashed, and they don't even know it. They have no idea. They're AIs that are pinpointing treatment modalities. They have an agenda, right? And like I have a Medicaid practice. I'm trying to tell these people, I'm like, dude, you can, like, this system is, you have to think your way out of this. You have to feel your way out of this. So teledentistry to me is brilliant. It's like, okay, great. The most important thing I do, which is teach people, I can do at scale. So tell me a little bit about what your thoughts are about this, how this is going to change healthcare, and perhaps how public health enthusiasts, it should just be health enthusiasts, can like use this thing, to make a difference.
Well, I think, at the very tail end of my clinical career, I spent several years directing a nonprofit public health mobile dentistry program in Minnesota. And it happened to be right around the time, two things happened around that time. The first was the first dental therapists in Minnesota graduated their educational program. And so we were able to hire some of them and work alongside them and see how they improved the efficiency in practices. And then the second thing was the CDT codes for teledentistry were approved over that time. So what I did was I took the program and we revamped it to include virtual care. And this was a mobile program anyway. So we were going into people's houses and homes and on the streets and churches, anywhere we could. And as soon as we revamped the program to include virtual care, to include mid-level providers, I don't even know the numbers. I would say we quadrupled what we could do. The amount of services that we could provide. And it was at that point that I realized, holy cow, this is not just for public health initiatives. This is for everyone, and then COVID hit years later and I'm like, duh. Like, why am I still having to say this? Like, nobody wants to do anything in person if they can do it through a screen these days. That's consumers, that's patients. Yet, you're going to get me fired up here. Yet, traditional dentistry still comes to me and says, well, how can I do a root canal over a screen? I'm like, no, like, this is not it at all. And so so what I say to that is two things. I say just think of teledentistry as communication. More communication touch points with your patients that you can get paid for, right? Like you can check on their salivary tests that you just took. You can check on the post-op that you just, on the crown that you just like. So first of all,
That build like a limited exam? Is that how that works?
yeah, so you bill for the procedure and then you just have to put the teledentistry code on top of it. So you're not getting billed for the teledentistry code. You're not getting fee for that. You're getting fee for whatever procedure was done during it. If that makes sense. hmm So if my child falls and hits their tooth and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, freaking out." I have a video chat with you. You would bill out for the emergency exam. And then you would simply put all the teledentistry codes in that you use, just like you would put in any code, any oral health education code, anything you did, even though you're not going to get, reimbursed for those. But you would still bill out for the emergency appointment, just like you would normally do. Now, the one footnote to that is it depending on your state, and Medicaid is pretty good with this, but depending on your state, there's different teledentistry parity laws in place. So most states have it in place that say, if you do a limited exam on a virtual call, you must get reimbursed 100% of what, of the fee that as if it was done in person. There are a few states that have partial parity in it, and those are the states that say, okay, you can only bill out for 2/3 of what you would have done in person, which doesn't make any sense when you think about it. But that legislation is constantly changing, and that's where I started lots of initiatives with this, and things are working in the background and even something as simple as, there's one or two states out there that define an evaluation. They have the word tactile in it, it's old school, like
Yeah.
a tactile exam to examine somebody, right? So in those states, you have to work around those parameters as well, but that's few and far between. Yeah. But
A different podcast about teledentistry. Okay.
biggest benefit to virtual care is, and this is, when I'm on the stage talking to dentists, this is where I come back to. Our clinical schedules are so inefficient. Our business model is so inefficient, both on the business and clinical side of things. We're at a point where we need to just throw everything out and start over, but that's not possible, right? But the best example I can give to practice owners is to say, look at your schedule, look at all the appointments that take 2 seconds. You just have to glance in the patient's mouth. Those things are the things that you can do virtually, right? And it's going to save a lot of time. So it creates a more efficient schedule for you as the business owner. You could even do that from home, or from the beach or from your mountain cabin. You could do that virtual appointment. So it creates a more flexible schedule for you as the provider. And then the patient's going to love it as well. Like, they don't have to come in. Oh, good. All right. Saves them a lot of time. But yeah.
I would like to debate some of these things with you for sure, but I don't know if there's the podcast to do it.
Oh, we could totally do it whenever you want. It's working through all of the kinks is what is necessary.
Yeah, and I love that's part of the reason that people even want me around is because the attention to detail is useful, like being able to pay attention. Yeah, so we'll talk about that. Very, very cool. The fact that you are on a board for a nonprofit, also really cool. Shameless plug, I'm looking for board members for my nonprofit. Tell me what was that setup like? Why'd you go into the nonprofit space? Were you getting compensated? Like how do you feel about the nonprofit space?
In clinical dentistry? Or just nonprofit in general?
I'm curious. Yeah.
I mean, my response to that is the NFL was nonprofit for many years. So, For a lot of my career, even growing up, I did a lot of volunteering and like work in nonprofit sectors, like nonprofit public health sectors. And for a long time, that's where I thought I was meant to be. And then I realized, I realized there are benefits to working with those organizations internally, partnering with them. But there's also change that can be made in the for-profit sectors as well. And, it's for me, it's always about that balance, right? Like what, you know, uh, money?
Right? Like that's what you're hitting on.
Yeah.
What do you so from what I see is people that start nonprofits are often not very financially minded, but they could benefit.
They think they can't be financially minded. That's the flaw.
And it's a complete it's missing perhaps the use of money, right? Like what is the philosophy of money? It's missing that component of it. Am I correct on kind of hitting on that in terms of what you're mentioning, or are you talking more about like from a cultural perspective?
I was talking about cultural, but I think there's applications too into the financial aspect. And this is where us as healthcare providers, we often have a conflict deep within our souls and our hearts and our minds, because like you said earlier, we make money off of disease, right? So if our patient, but one of the initiatives I'm starting, and if you're in Boston the day before Yankee Dental in January, we'll have our second event called the Oral Health Prevention Summit. And this year, it's all about how to be profitable as a prevention-focused clinic or clinical practice. Like you can still have your restorative and everything like that, but if you up your prevention game, you can actually be more profitable than you ever thought, right? So I'm starting that conversation as well. But I think with a lot of folks who work in public health and nonprofits, they just come into it thinking, I'm not going to make much money. When the reality is they can, they just have to have that expectation. And, it's possible for nonprofits to have a lot of money. It just comes back to their goals and how business minded the leaders are and the founders are. So I think it's. I was talking about culture, but I think it can apply there too.
Differences between the nonprofit space and the for-profit space in clinical health. Like what? Like it's like it.
In dentistry, I mean, there's not much. How do I? This is gonna have to be a whole different podcast. I think
Plenty to talk about, Melissa. I'll take all your time in the future as well.
I think just in general in dentistry, I'll just narrow it down to dentistry. Culture sucks wherever you go. Like it just sucks in dentistry. In the public health aspect, it still sucks, but you're rewarded. When I remember I spent a lot of days within the clinical nonprofit working in, homeless residences and schools. And I would leave, even though, my coworkers weren't that great or the boss wasn't that great, even though the dental practice itself, might not have been that great. I would leave that day feeling two things: so sad because of what I've seen, because of what people are going through, but also so fulfilled knowing that I made a difference in these people's lives, even if it was just a 2mm by 2mm piece of calculus that came off and will not infect them for the next, 7 days. But I think that's the difference between public health dentistry and the rest of dentistry is, public health in a lot of ways is at the forefront of innovation and technology, because they have to figure out how to reach their patients. They have to figure out how to still care for their patients, even through COVID when patients don't want to come in. But it's that reward of helping those who are desperate, just that objectiveness. that's the difference, I think. And so a lot of people, when they start working in public health, dentistry, they can't go back to for-profit dentistry because it's, they'll call the patients entitled or, just things like that because they've seen one end and they're not willing to give that up anymore.
So we've had a phenomenal hour. Thank you so much for your time, Melissa. Melissa K. Turner for the audience. Okay, if you're trying to find this amazing lady, look up Melissa K. Turner. Okay. Word to the wise, for perhaps a younger version of yourself. Perhaps the girl that's working in a clinic right now that needs something. What would you tell them?
I would say take that first step and then take that next step. And the footnote to that is it doesn't have to be forward. It can be to the side or it can be backwards. I think if somebody's unhappy with their life or happy with their life but want more or not sure even where to go, just take a step and keep moving. And that's a lesson I've learned as a business owner is the minute that I stop taking steps, my business starts to feel it, right? I start to become stagnant. I start to become full of unrest, right? But if we can just keep moving, it doesn't matter what direction, just keep moving, that's when fulfillment happens.
So much. I would love to do a series of podcasts with you. It would be really, really cool. I guess you can see how this one goes. Yeah, man. I just have the most blessed life ever. Seriously. Like, thank you so much for the things that you do, and thank you for being just honest about some of the things that you've seen, and you've seen a lot. 100 practices is intense. Yeah, we should definitely connect. I'm curious about your nonprofit experience. I'm very curious about the teledentistry stuff. And I think we can help a lot of people, especially the stuff that you're working on. So thank you again. Melissa K. Turner, guys. I haven't even talked, I feel bad. I haven't talked about a quarter of the accolades that this incredible lady has. Please go and find her wherever you can. And really go to the events that she's hosting. She's an absolute expert at these events. She knows what she's doing, and you're never going to be connected to a more compassionate provider. I have a capacity of reading souls, and I can certainly see that. So thank you, Melissa.
You're gonna make me cry. And thank you for helping be a voice and helping be the conversation and for taking the steps that you have taken also in your career and for just making this opportunity happen. I really appreciate it.